Hey, what's going on, guys? This is Brandon, your trusted realtor, and I'm coming to you with another great episode. And I'm coming to you actually in transit. I'm here at my physician's office because I have some things that I need to take care of, but I also needed to make a video, so I figured I got two phones, and if these phones can get a man to the moon, then I can be efficient and productive while I'm waiting on this visit, which is a little bit late, but that's totally fine. So today I wanted to come to you and talk to you about something that is near and dear to me and that's really going to be important to you, which is the process of selecting a lender. A lender choice can make and break the deal because that is the person or the institution that you're going to go to that is going to provide you with financing. And most recently, the reason that this became a point or a topic of discussion for me was that I read a comment down below, and there one of the individuals or viewers described their experience with their lender, specifically that their lender was shying them away from down payment and assistance program because it was quote unquote too much work. And I want to let you know here and now that in life gives you clues, and that is a clue that you should take and maybe potentially run for the hills. Remember, my advice is that you should always get at least 3 pre-approvals from a lenders because they come with closing disclosures. Those closing disclosures include information that is vital to you about what a lender is willing to give you and a breakdown of those fees and charges that they are going to charge for their services, as well as it empowers you to have a discussion with those individuals about what are the best options and the strategy that is going to help you. So here are some questions that you should think about asking your lender when you begin that interview process. Because yes, it is an interview. The first question is, are you familiar with XX Down Payment Assistance Program? Now, at this point, you've been watching my videos, and if you're in DC, Maryland, or Virginia, you know that there are a host of programs that are available to you, and you should take those and leverage the knowledge from my videos to pose the specific question about the specific down payment program that you're looking for with that lender. The rationale here is that you have to bring something to the party. And through my videos and the information I provided you, or at least some of those resources, you should know similarly or basically what programs are available to you. And you should ask about that program to ensure that that person is familiar with it. It is one thing to be qualified or eligible or quote unquote a participating lender. It's another thing for a lender to actually have that experience and navigate that program. A great example is a transaction that I was dealing with a lender. They said that they had familiarity with the program, but in fact, there were common missteps that took place that ended up delaying the closing and the transaction by nearly 45 days. So in this instance, it was a great example and a lesson learned that just because a lender may be qualified or a participating lender, that does not mean that they have the experience in order to execute that program. Also, don't be afraid to ask for examples of their experience with that program. That sometimes will catch an individual off guard and require that they come up with a scenario or be able to present a scenario based on their historical experience. The second question you should ask your lender: will you explain what documents you need? So the rationale here is that your lender will need to determine your credit worthiness. They'll need things like W-2s, pay stubs, tax returns, and of course a mortgage application are the standard documents they'll need. Get a sense of what those documents are, write those down, and be sure that you have them saved away so that way you can quickly get that information to your lender. The third question I think you should ask is, how long does it take you to return a pre-approval? The rationale here is that the pre-approval should take a maximum of 3 days, in my opinion, and even that is a long time. Today's lenders have access to so much technology that allows them to make quick credit determinations and understand instantaneously whether or not you're going to be a good credit fit. And even with that, they can take some stated information and begin to perform an analysis. Also, don't forget that there is a difference between a pre-approval and a pre-qualification. The next question I think that you should ask your lender is, where are you located and where will the loan be processed? The rationale for this is that there's a lot of power in working with a lender and their team. especially if that lender and their team are local, because they will have an understanding of the local real estate market. They will have worked with local real estate agents, and they'll understand the demands for those agents or that those agents have. Most recently in our current environment, I found that there are certain national credit unions or lenders that I will not mention, but because they are national and they provide really great interest rates, buyers were flocking to them. But their closing time frame was closer to 45 or 50 days. And in this hyper competitive environment, it presented a huge challenge for me to be able to win offers for my clients. So it meant that I had to actually leverage an additional tool in my tool set, which was looking at properties that are coming soon, leveraging relationships that I had with agents in order to try to get or be the first person to that particular show so that I could win the day for my client. And you don't realize the power of this as it relates to also processing your loan. Having some local presence or being able to get close to the processor, not having a processor that is in Nevada or California because of the time delay and the time difference. If there's a need for you to get an updated pre-approval and we need that in order to submit your offer, having a processing team that is in California and there's a 3 or 4 hour difference in that time for us and them can make the difference between whether or not a seller will accept your offer, especially in a hyper competitive environment. Something to think about as you're evaluating the resources that will be assisting you or building your team. The next question I think you should ask a lender is, what are your internal requirements for automated underwriting? Now, I'm sure this question and the rationale for this is that, I'm sure this question sounded like garbity goop to you when I said it. But the rationale for this is that you want to get a better sense of what the credit score minimum is going to be for your lender to be able to look at the base information and then send your information through an automated underwriting system. The automated underwriting system just means that they have to ask you for limited information, and it doesn't require a manual review or a manual process. Each lender is going to have a different credit score or set of criteria that they use in order to determine whether or not you are credit worthy and meet the minimum requirements for a loan. So getting a better sense of those processing requirements on underwriting on the type of underwriting that will perform can also help you better understand the next question or the sub question to this. If I'm not eligible for automated underwriting, can you give me a sense of the additional documents that you'll need from me in order to review my loan? Some loan officers may not be able to answer that question because that's more of a loan processor, which is the person who reviews all the details of your loan, but they should have closed enough loans where they can at least give you a sense or a list of those things. And the next question, which I think is probably a fair amount of questions for us to have a discussion with for today, that you should ask your lender is, what are your average closing costs for a loan equal to my rent or slightly more? Your lender should be able to look at the amount that you're paying in your rent every month and give you a sense of what that amount of loan would be based on an interest rate or a number, right? And then based on that, you should be able to ask your lender, can you give me a sense of what my closing costs are going to be? Remember, when you're buying a house, there's two real pools of money. There's the upfront money or your down payment monies, and then there's your closing costs. Your closing costs are going to be all the fees that your lender or some other entity that's involved in the transaction is going to charge you for being involved in that loan. It is good before you get that certificate of disclosure to be able to at least ask that lender that question. Sometimes many lenders will say, hey, once you actually do a pre-approval, then you'll have a better sense of what those are because that is listed on the certificate of disclosure. But sometimes they have a list of fees or an estimation that they can offer you. I think that these are all poignant talking points to begin the discussion. And I also think it's what I like to call the Twitter version of the information that you need to know. In the world that we live in today, knowledge is power, and knowledge can be both powerful and it can be dangerous. So it's important to have just a little bit of information when you're engaged in the transaction. My doctor's here. I gotta go. I'm Brandon, your trusted realtor. Take care and stay tuned in and in tune. Bye.